People in Wuhan have been asked not to leave the city, and outsiders have been told to stay away. More than 400 people have been infected with the coronavirus and 9 people have died.
Why people are worried. We had officials, they held a press conference today warning that this virus could mutate. And if it mutated, it could
very successful negotiations. We think
At an overwhelmed
That's why they
hospital
were
in
calling
Brooklyn,
for
these
so many
nurses are
more
wearing
hospital
COVID
beds,
protection over their scrubs.
many more mortality.
ICU nurse
Because
Shelley
they
Kelly is on the
projected
front
a
lines at the
higher
Field Hospital in Central Park after a grueling 12-hour shift.
I want to congratulate
Of spread. That has not happened so
I hate online classes.
Electoral college to
My name is Priscilla.
their purpose is to
I started teaching at NYU in 1974 when I was 24. I love my job, and I have never lost my enthusiasm for teaching and for learning from my students.
You shouldn't be throwing stones if you live in a glass house. No. Christina, that's for you. You shouldn't be throwing stones if you live in a glass house.
My dad's parents fled Russia because of poverty and because of hatred against Jews. Dad was born in New York in 1912. His dad ran off with another woman. His mom was mentally unstable, only spoke Yiddish, and was unable to hold down a job. So at 8, he began to work as a bootlegger, and he sometimes ended up in jail. He loved books. The 42nd Street Library saved him. Knight High School saved him. Free University saved him. My mom's parents left Yugoslavia because of poverty. She grew up in Pennsylvania. The public library there saved her. She would boast that she had read all the books in her local library. And like Dad, she was a reader and a thinker, and incredibly generous. She complimented me from the moment I woke up. I can't remember a word of criticism. She was my cheerleader. My parents met when they were hired to write a series of English textbooks. They were madly in love. Dad served her breakfast in bed every morning, roasting coffee beans and baking her rye bread. Our house always smelled delicious. My dad typed hundreds and hundreds of love letters to my mom on a black Remington typewriter when he was working as a radio operator on a ship. I have read and reread all his letters, which inspire me to this day on how to live my life. I was born in Manhattan in 1950. I have an older sister, Sue, who took very good care of me when I was growing up. I spent most of my childhood in Flushing, Queens, which in those days still had farms. We lived in a neighborhood where many of the families had been victims of the Holocaust. I met Evie, my best friend there. Today, I call her my guardian angel. She's the one who found my son for me. Like many kids those days, I had piano lessons, ballet lessons, and art lessons. Unlike many kids in those days, I had French lessons, fencing lessons, and horseback riding lessons. Dad sent me to France when I was 11 so that I would not be provincial. It worked. I fell in love with French literature, French food, and French boys. The only pressure was from my dad, who would often ask me, "How many books did you read this week?" I was more boy crazy than book crazy. School was uninspiring, but my parents and my friends were inspiring. We were always marching against the government, against racism, sexism, and the Vietnam War. I remember handing out leaflets on Main Street in Flushing to get people to join the March in Washington in 1963 with Martin Luther King. I remember marching down Fifth Avenue with Evie for women's right to choose in the early 1970s. We had a guitar and a piano at home, and we were always singing folk songs. I love telling my students that I live below 14th Street. I feel the neighborhood I live in around Washington Square has had a history of tolerance towards the outsider. And New York University also reflects this tolerance toward the other. In the days when Ivy League schools rejected Jews, NYU opened its doors to them. I lived in DC for a year when I worked for Ralph Nader as a writer for a book on campaign financing and a lobbyist trying to impeach Nixon. And then I lived 2 years in France, where I studied at the university in Nancy and where I taught English. I'm still very connected to France and to a French family I met when I was 19. When I returned from France, I started teaching English at NYU. I call him my prince. I met Arnaldo when he was studying for his doctorate at Columbia University. His professor recommended that he call me to help him with his English, and when he called, I didn't quite like him. Being Venezuelan, he wanted to bargain about my price. I suggested that he get another teacher, but he replied, "No, I want you." We got married 2 years later. And when my dad died, Mom moved in with us. Arnaldo loved my mom. And like my dad, he started serving her breakfast in bed for the 25 years she lived with us. We adopted my son Emile when I was 42. Evie found him. Emile is a passionate, insightful, creative, independent thinking, fascinating young man who struggled growing up. Now he's 28, working at a rehab in Florida. He loves helping others. He plays guitar, writes songs, draws, does kung fu and yoga, and loves animals. He lives with 2 cats. We adore him. I hate teaching online. It's a miserable experience. I miss seeing Helen's pants, Hiroto's sweater. There are no more pats on the back. There are no more playful little pokes. There is no more passing around a box of cookies or a piece of honey candy. Plus, everything takes longer. To put people in groups, take people out of groups, to explain, to correct, and to... Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, believed all these machines neurologically damage our brains. And I fear he is right. Many of my best friends were my former students. I love to keep in touch with them wherever they are. Iran, China, Spain, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and make them part of my extended family. When they're in my class, I take them to meet my family, to go to the movies, to go on protest marches. I cook them Thanksgiving dinner. I meet their parents and friends. I can't imagine a more fulfilling profession. I've never thought about retiring, although I'll be 70 next month. Why would I want to end the fun? Plus, I feel I've never been better at teaching than now. Why would I want to stop when I'm better than ever? My name is Priscilla. Are there any questions? Oops, I forgot the rest.